Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, November the 6th, 2018. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. Our first show back in 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks since we were last on the air, so I hope you had a great 2 weeks, good Halloween, and all that good stuff, and hope everything's been good for all of you. And tonight, of course, is election night, so I'm sure many of you are watching the election coverage. Hopefully, many of you went out there and voted, did your civic duty. I did. I'm not wearing a sticker because, and I don't want to go on a tangent about that because I've heard a lot of people go on tangents about the whole sticker thing, I voted thing. I kind of agree with it. I think it's kind of stupid to wear an I voted thing sticker. It's just a weird thing for me. It's like bragging about it. You know, if you vote, you vote. I get it's supposed to be like a motivational tool to get others that don't vote to vote, but to me, it just comes off obnoxious. Okay, you can easily, everybody on a day like today is going to ask you if you voted if you're of age. Okay, if they ask you if you voted, you say, "Hey, yeah, I did vote. Did you vote?" "Oh, no." "Well, you should. That's you should, so you can be a part of the process." And then leave it at that. You don't have to put some obnoxious sticker on your chest and be like, "I voted." I just don't get it. It's dumb. But that's a pet peeve of mine. Always has been. So let's not go off on a tangent with that. Um, anyway. Yes, my wife just asked, really? Yes, really. That's always been a pet peeve of mine. I've gone off on people like 3 times today because of that. Anyway, we have a lot to do. We've been off the air for 2 weeks. We got a lot of things to get to. We have some announcements about the show. We're going to touch on those at the end of the show. I usually like to do it at the beginning. I'm going to read those for the end because we have so much to do. And I want to get into that stuff first. Obviously, while we've been off the air the last 2 weeks, the World Series ended, the MLB regular season ended. We'll talk about that quickly. Not a lot to talk about. Wasn't much of a World Series, so we'll kind of gloss over it, kind of wrap everything up with that, tie up a nice little bow and send it on its way. We've already moved on to MLB offseason stuff. MLB Awards finalists. We'll talk about that. An interesting thing developed today with the MVP, AL MVP finalists, which a lot of people are upset about, including myself. We'll talk about that. Tonight, college basketball gets underway. If it's tip-off, Champions Class, we'll talk a little bit about that. We will not do our college basketball preview. I've been kind of doing a lot of these sports previews early. Sometimes do them later. I've been doing them early. With college basketball, we're going to wait a couple weeks until at least all the holiday tournaments are over. I just think it's worth it because too many teams are streaky. So you're better off just waiting on that. So we will, but we'll do a little college basketball tonight. I didn't put in the show description because I completely forgot, but we will do some college football, playoff rankings, all that good stuff. Talk about where we're at with that. And then NFL, we have a lot of NFL to get to look back at our picks. We have 2 weeks worth of NFL games to kind of look at. We can't possibly go into every single game, so we're going to kind of do like an overview of the last 2 weeks, and of course look ahead to this week. It won't be as detailed as normal because we have so much to do. We got a lot to catch up on, but we will touch on a number of the big topics in relation to that. And that'll be the show. So a lot of sports stuff coming at you here tonight. Thursday, entertainment and wrestling. We got a couple weeks worth of box office stuff to get to. TV highlights. Wrestling, we got Crown Jewel, which was a complete and utter mess. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Evolution, which was the complete opposite of Crown Jewel. Raw, SmackDown, all that good stuff on Thursday. So a busy show on Thursday as well as we try to get back into the swing of things here. And as I said, at the end of the show, we'll talk more about what's going to be going on and whatnot. And obviously in 2 weeks is Thanksgiving, so you all know we'll probably only do like one show that week, but that's kind of par for the course here. So we'll talk about all that stuff at the end of the show as far as the stuff related to what's going to be going on with the show and all that stuff. So, all right. So with that being said, as always, when I start the show, got to remind you all of how you can interact and contribute with us here. You can do so by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember, hashtag itspotlight411 is the hashtag you want to use when tweeting our show or tweeting at us or whatever you want to do. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search In Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure that you like our fan page. All right. So let's get right into business here and talk about. We're going to start first with the NFL because we got a lot to mine there. And I've sounded like a broken record the last few seasons when we've started the seasons off. We all talk about the quality of play and teams just not coming together till around week 5, week 6. September's like a glorified exhibition. We've gone over and over and over it. Okay, we've done that, done it to death. Okay, but this year, obviously, we got off to a better start. I think everybody would agree that it was a better start, and this season actually started off pretty compelling. Um, And when we last talked about where things stood in the league, I think they were still compelling. And I still think there are compelling aspects to this NFL season. But if the last 2 weeks are any indication, this season has lost all its steam. It's got very little going for it. It's starting to go on a trajectory where the gap between the teams that are good and are going to be in the mix and the teams that are kind of just hanging in there and might end up making it by the skin of their teeth, but you have no faith in whatsoever to play any kind of level of consistent quality football. Okay? The gap between those two groups of teams is so wide at this point that I think it takes so much of that compelling nature that we had a couple weeks ago out of the league. And that's not what you want. It's not what you want. Because one of the things that the NFL has had going for a number of years, we know was parity. And parity is good, but parity has to come with quality. Parity is not good when you got a bunch of teams that are just kind of getting by. Parity is good when you got so many good quality teams that can beat anybody on any given day. That's good parity. Bad parity is when you got so many mediocre teams that they allow teams that have no business staying in the playoff hunt to stick around. That's not good parity. And that's what you have a lot of in this league. If you watch enough of these games over these last few weeks, you know that. The entire NFC East, the Eagles have completely fallen apart. They have come back down to earth. The rest of the NFC East is a joke. If you look at the AFC South, that has fallen apart. The NFC, I'm not gonna say South, NFC, not Central. Well, I'm blanking on the damn standings. There's no standings. What am I doing? Here we go. It would help if I had my page, but I didn't. I'm rusty, folks. Bear with me. Been 2 weeks. Gotta be on my game, but I'm not. Okay, so how you can even look at the entire NFC and say it's outside like 3 teams that it's a mess. Yeah, the NFC North is a mess. Let's be honest here. Let's look at the NFC. The Rams have lost their first game this week, which you lay to blame at their defense. You do. You lay to blame at their defense. Because their offense did the job. They should have won that game. They didn't. Right? Big credit to the Saints, who outside of week 1 have been brilliant. But you look at the Rams, they're 8-1. You look at the Saints, they're 7-1. Okay. Then you look at who's your next team. Well, that team comes in the same division as the Saints. The Panthers are 6-2. All right. Now, where do we go after the Panthers? Okay, we go to a bunch of 5-3 teams. Redskins 5-3, Bears 5-3, Vikings 5-3-1, and everybody else is 4-4 or worse. Eagles 4-4, Falcons 4-4, but coming on strong. Seahawks 4-4. That's it. Everybody else is under 500. Dallas 3-5, Packers 3-4, Detroit 3-5, Buccaneers 3-5. And then you got the Giants at 1. Well, the Giants would be next up in line. It'd be 2-6 Cardinals, 2-7 49ers, and then the 1-7 Giants would be next up in line. That's bad, because if the standings ended today, if the playoffs started today, Rams and Saints are both in, far and away. Nobody's even close. All right. Either Bears or the Vikings win the NFC North, and the Redskins win the NFC East. And your wild cards are already be set. You take the Panthers, and whoever's not the other 5-3 team that that doesn't get the division gets the other one. So the NFC race would be already over. Only a few teams in the mix. It's not good. When you have one team at 6-2 after all the 7-1 teams, right? And everybody else is 5-3 or worse, that's terrible. And that's the NFC. Let's look at the AFC where they're at. Kansas City 8-1. They're gone in the division, although Chargers are making it interesting. But outside of that, everybody else is gone in that division. Patriots, they're gone. They're 7-2. They're gone. Pittsburgh's on a roll now, 5-2 and 5-2-1. Bengals and Ravens have completely fallen off. Texans are on a run. They're putting everybody else in AFC South away. So here's what we'd have if the playoffs started today. Patriots in, no question. Texans in, no question. Chiefs far and away in, no question. Steelers go, no question. Although it's a little bit closer between them and the Bengals because of the tie. But then what are you left with? Okay, who's your wild card? Well, the Chargers are 6-2. They're going to go in as a wild card. Who's your other wild card? Well, you look at the Bengals because they're 5-3. Dolphins are 5-4. Titans are 4-4. Everybody else is under that mark. Jets are 3-6. Ravens are 4-5. Browns are 2-6. Bills are 2-7. Colts and Jaguars are both 3-5. Broncos are 3-6. Oakland Raiders are 1-7. So here's what we got in week 10. And usually by week 12, we eliminated all the pretenders, right? That's usually what we talk about. By week 12, we weeded out all the teams that just don't have a chance, all right? But by week 10, we already have weeded out a lot of those teams. And a lot of these teams are already committed to gutting their teams. The Raiders traded Amari Cooper. Cowboys picked him up as they desperately trying to, rake in and maybe make take a spot in the playoffs. The Eagles have made some moves. Like a lot of these teams are making moves to try to either get in or are already giving up because they realize they're just so far off the mark. There's less obscurity, and that's not a bad thing for some teams. At least you're not deluding yourself. Last couple years, we had some teams that deluded themselves because they thought they were hanging on by a thread. Sometimes parity can be a bad thing in a league. You get delusions. But this year, we don't have any of that. Right now, as the league stands right now, we can eliminate the Buffalo Bills. You're not making it at 2-7. We can eliminate the Browns now at 2-6, 2-6-1. Even though they started out better than expected. We can eliminate the Raiders at this point, far and away. We can eliminate the Giants, even though that division has not really, nobody's really run through that division. 1-7 ain't going to get it done in week 10. We can eliminate, I would probably say we can eliminate the 49ers and the Cardinals. Yeah, you can. You can eliminate both those teams. And you got all these 3-5, 3-4 teams. Do they still have a chance? Yes. But barely. Like, they're barely hanging on. If you're not at least 4 wins right now then you don't have a chance. And the only reason why you have 4 wins you have a chance is because some of these divisions are so god-awful this year. The NFC North is god-awful this year. The NFC East is god-awful this year. The AFC South is god-awful again this year. The AFC North has turned into a mess. And here's the thing. You're going to look at this, and somebody's going to look at this and go, oh, wow, there's still some teams hanging on. That means parity. Okay, fine, parity. It's mediocre parity, but it's parity. Okay, great. But here's what I always look at. How many teams I always look at tier systems, right? That's how I've always done it. That's how I always like to look at any sport, right? You have those top shelf teams, which, sometimes takes a while to get to know them. Sometimes it doesn't. But those top shelf teams that are Super Bowl contenders either before the season or as the season progresses. From the beginning of the season, we've seen the Rams, we've seen the Chiefs, and we have the Patriots to add to that bunch. Those 3 teams, okay, are the only teams that right now will even sniff the Super Bowl at this point. Nobody else has played any other consistency but those 3 teams. Okay? Those are your top shelf teams. Then you have your next level tier, teams that potentially could get to a Super Bowl, maybe even win it, but are kind of, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get. You got the Steelers on that level right now. I'm not ready to put the Texans there yet. The Chargers, I would put there only by the fact that they're putting themselves in a very good position. They've shown themselves a lot of good stuff a lot of good. They've shown a lot of good on defense. I'm reluctant to believe in them because people believed in them before and they've fallen off, but they've shown you a lot of consistency this year, which they haven't done in years. But I'd put the Chargers up there. I'd put the Eagles up there only because of what we know they can be. I'm not ready to put the Redskins there. I could put the Vikings up there too because we know what they can be. Bears, they've shown signs. I'm not ready to put them there even though they're tied with the Vikings. Panthers, I put up there far and away. And I'd put the Falcons up there because, again, we know what they can be. Everybody else after that, to me, is either barely hanging on and wait, not even on a third tier. They're just barely hanging on, or they're out of it. Out of it. That's not good when we can only name what? What do we name? Like 8 teams, 9 teams? Not good. I think last year at this point I was naming about 12 or 13 teams that I thought could see we could at least get to the conference championship game and maybe sneak in. Most of them were out of the NFC, but hey, it's a terrible league this year. It started out so well. There was a lot of compelling narratives. A lot of teams were playing either better than expected. Some were playing below par, but a lot of teams were playing better than expected. Well, things have careened out of control. And like I said, I don't see any scenario whatsoever at this point where 2 of these 3 teams, the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Rams, don't make the Super Bowl. And really, in my mind, in the AFC, whoever gets home field, whether it's the Patriots or the Chiefs, is going to go to the Super Bowl. I think the Rams are going to go. I think the Saints can threaten them. I should put the Saints in the upper tier group too. I forgot about them. The Saints earned that spot. But the Saints have got to get home field. And right now they're tied for it. But I think the Saints have a tougher division to deal with than the Rams do. And because of that, I think the Rams will end up getting home field. And because of that, I think the Saints won't get into the Super Bowl. I think the Rams will. If the Saints have home field, I think the Saints could conceivably go. But you saw even the Rams in New Orleans on Sunday only lost by 10. And if their defense even remotely came around in that fourth quarter, they probably would have won the game. So home field is going to be very critically important in these conference championship games this year, no question about it. And that usually is. But to me, it's going to be more important on the AFC side because I think the Saints and the Rams will match up well no matter where they play. On the other hand, Patriots and Chiefs, New England will not lose in their building. And I don't think Kansas City will lose in their building. So I think it's going to be critically important. I've always thought that in the AFC because New England is so tough to beat in their building in January. Always so tough. Always so tough. So it's really a shame. It really is a shame what's transpired in these last 2 weeks because I think there's just very little drama left in this season. I mean, yeah, does that mean that we're not going to have any close playoff races? You're going to have some, but it's going to be because of all the mediocrity, not because that there's so many good teams and they're going to battle each other out down the stretch. And that's not what you want. It's not what you want. It's really a shame. Normally we'd go over each and every game, all the big highlights. We kind of mentioned a few specifics here and there, but we don't have the time for that because there's 2 weeks worth of stuff we can't get possibly through it. So right now I'm going to look back at the picks for the last 2 weeks, see how we did, and then we're going to kind of just, go to week 10 and go from there. So let's see how we did on our picks for the last couple weeks here, week 8 and week 9. Here, and I'm going to pull up week 8. I got week 9 scores. I don't want week 9s right now. I want to start week 8. Okay, here we go. Week 8. If it changes over. Okay, keeps coming up week 9. Yeah, this is running incredibly slow tonight. Wow. Come on. It doesn't like me today. I'm sorry, folks. The scoreboards won't like me. There it is. Okay, finally. All right. So here's how we did on our picks. So I had Eagles over Jaguars. That was a win. Jaguars, talk about a team that's season has been derailed. Who would have thought that? Probably one of the biggest disappointments of the season so far. Ravens over Panthers. That was one of my upset picks. That one was a loss on my part. Vikings over Saints. Yep. Vikings over Saints. Another loss on my part. Rams over Packers. That one was a win. Giants over Redskins. That one was a loss. Seahawks over Lions. Yeah, Seahawks over Lions was a win. So I did another 3 and 3. I think that's what I went week 3 and 3 in week 7, 3 and 3 in week 6, 3 and 3 in week 5, 3 and 3 in week 4. I've had a lot of 3 and 3s this year, man. A lot of 3 and 3s. All right, week 9. How do we do on week 9? Okay. All right, so let's see how I did. Patriots over Packers. That one was a win. Rams over Saints was a loss. Saints knocked them off at home. Ravens over Steelers. That one was a loss. I really bought into the Ravens this year. That was a mistake. Seahawks over Chargers. That one was a loss. Chargers have surprised me. Have been much better than expected. Well, they were one of my sweepers, but I did even better than I thought they could be. Let's see what else. Redskins over Falcons. I think the Falcons. Yeah, the Falcons won that one. That one was a win. A loss. I'm sorry for me. Had a bad week. Wow. Vikings over Lions. That one was a win. So I broke my string of 3 and 3s with a 2 and 4. So that's how I have the 3 and 3. So 3 and 3 for week 8, 2 and 4 for week 9. So not good picks for me. But again, the league seemed to kind of careen out of control in the weeks that we were gone here. So, all right. So that's the stories for week 8 and 9. I know I kind of rushed through that, but again, due to time and because we had 2 weeks worth of games, it's impossible to go over everything in detail. So, all right. So let's look ahead to week 10 here, which gets underway with a big game on Thursday night at 8:20 p.m. Eastern on Fox and the NFL Network from Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. The 6-2 Panthers will take on the 5-2-1 Steelers. That's a big game between two playoff teams, really, I think. So we'll definitely be picking that game. Let me give you the rest of the rundown of games here for week 10 of the NFL season here. Your Sunday slate. Here are your 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern games. First on Fox from Chicago, the 3-5 Lions take on the 5-3 Bears. Also at 1 o'clock on Fox, the 7-1 Saints go to Cincinnati to take on the 5-3 Bengals. Also on Fox at 1, the 4-4 Falcons take on the 2-6-1 Browns. On CBS at 1, 7-2 Patriots take on the 4-4 Titans in Tennessee. 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern on CBS. 3-5 Jaguars take on the 3-5 Colts. One of those teams will pretty much be eliminated after that game. I would imagine. 1 o'clock Eastern on Fox from Kansas City. The 2-6 Cardinals take on the 8-1 Chiefs. Also at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern on CBS, 2-7 Bills take on the 3-6 Jets. From East Rutherford, New Jersey, MetLife Stadium. 1 o'clock Eastern on Fox from Tampa. The 5-3 Redskins take on the 3-5 Buccaneers. And then your 4 o'clock window of games, 4:05 p.m. Eastern on Fox from Oakland. 6-2 Chargers take on the 1-7 Raiders. So the Chargers get a nice little bye this weekend. 4:25 p.m. Eastern on CBS. 5-4 Dolphins head to Green Bay to take on the 3-4-1 Packers. Loser of that game, I think, is eliminated too. 4:25 p.m. Eastern on CBS from LA is the 4-4 Seahawks taking on the 8-1 Rams. Seahawks have to win that game in my mind to stay in this playoff hunt because I don't think they will if they lose this game. And at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, your Sunday night football game on NBC from Philly is the 3-5 Cowboys at the 4-4 Eagles. And I think the loser of that game is probably out too. So a lot of essentially play-out games on Sunday in my mind. A lot of those. Especially since it's week 10. I know some divisions like the NFC East have not kind of run away from some teams, but I still think week 10 you have to be in a certain spot, no matter how things are panning out. So, and your Monday night football game, 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Monday night, the 1-7 Giants at the 2-7 49ers. Awful game. But again, the Giants probably need to win just for their own sanity. Eli Manning has been announced as the starter for that game. There's been some question about whether he should start. Who else are you going to start? One of their backups got arrested for crying out loud. Who else are you going to start? And speaking of messes, the Giants was a god-awful mess. As are the Jets, because they have to make some changes. They both do. At least the Giants changed coaches in the offseason. Jets probably needed. I like Todd Bowles, but I think it's time for a change. The Broncos, Vikings, Ravens, and Texans all have byes this week. So let's pick some games. I'm obviously going to pick the Thursday night game first. So let's do that. Panthers, Steelers. I'm going to go with Carolina here. The Steelers have been playing better, but I still think Carolina's the better team. I think they're the better defense. I think the Steelers have gotten away with a lot with their running. I think they probably got more out of the running than they probably would have expected to. I think like I said, the Panthers are the better team, and even though they're on the road, I like the Panthers over the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Next game I'm going to pick. Rams and Seahawks. I think Seattle's really, really going to keep this game close. I think they have the defense and obviously the playmakers to keep it close. However, the Rams are just so good, and they come at you. They just keep coming at you, particularly on offense. I expect a better effort from their defense than they got last week. That's when their one Achilles here. Sometimes their defense kind of goes non-existent. But I think they'll be, they lost last week. I think they'll be on their game, being at home. I like the Rams over the Seahawks, but I think it'll be closer than many people might think. I'll pick the Cowboy-Eagle game, even though I think it's going to end up being a blow. I think the Eagles are going to win this game. The Cowboys have not won a game on the road. They have not played well. They have not run the ball well. Their quarterback, I like Dak, but I don't think he's a star quarterback. I think he's like a worse version of Alex Smith. He'll get the job done most nights, but if you don't have good players around him and good protection, he's not going to get the job done. I just don't think he's a star, But yeah, I think the Eagles will win this game. I think it's a statement game for them. They know it's a huge game, and they can maybe solidify a potential playoff push for a win here. Cowboys need this game. If they lose it, they're done. But I don't think it matters. It's a road game for the Cowboys. They don't play well on the road. I like the Eagles over the Cowboys on Sunday night. So we got 3 picks. We got to pick 3 more. Tough slate of games. Not that many good games. We'll pick the Jaguars and the Colts. I think the Colts have the offense to be able to score on this Jaguars defense because their offense is so good that I think they can score on any kind of defense. I think that they'll put up their points. The question is, can their defense do enough? Against a Jaguar team that struggles on offense anyway, I don't think they're going to have to do a lot. I can kind of see the Colts winning this game, and I think I'm going to pick. That's going to be my upset picker. I think the Colts are going to beat the Jags. The Jaguars look like a broken team to me. I think they had so many tough early losses. I think that they look like a broken team to me. I think they had too many close losses. I think it broke them. So I'm gonna pick the Colts here because I just think them being at home, they can score on tough defenses. They have enough opportunities to score, and the Jaguars struggle to score. And even if a good defense like the Jaguars have, if you can't score, And that's what they can't do. And the Colts won't have to do a lot on defense when they don't have to worry about a lot on defense, and they're a much better team. So, yeah, I like the Colts over the Jaguars in my upset pick of the week. All right, let's see. We got what? 1, 2, 3, 4. We got to pick 2 more. Saints, Bengals. Let's do the Saints and the Bengals. Saints will come in with a lot of offense, but they are on the road. They're a much different team on the road. Sometimes their defense can struggle, particularly on the road. Really, their defense always struggles. It's just that they try to get as much out of it as they can. Well, this is a Bengals team that has, we all know what they do. They're the same game in and game out. They're sound. They don't try to overwhelm you. They just kind of go out there and go about their business and just are solid. They'll do that here again. My issue is that I think the Saints have too much firepower, even on the road. They're 4-0 on the road this year. They've shown they can win on the road. I think the Bengals are kind of floundering right now. I think they're starting to, kind of come back down to earth a little bit. I just think after what we saw last week, the Saints are just so far and away better. I like the Saints over the Bengals on the road. And then one more pick here. One more pick to make. Let's see. What game do I think could be potentially close? That'd be worth picking, should I? Let's pick the Redskins and the Buccaneers. This is a must-win for the Redskins, the team that they should beat. However, I don't think they will beat them. I've had a lot. Look, I've liked a lot of what the Redskins have done. They've kind of quietly under the radar been probably the most consistent team in the NFC East. On the other hand, they don't overwhelm you. Nothing about them is overly impressive. It's just that they just go out there and play decent ball every week. Tampa Bay has been known in their building to beat good teams, particularly in their division. Even on the road, they've been known to do it. This is a team that's coming in here that's a decent enough team that they're going to be play up to. They always like to play up to their competition. I think Tampa is going to win this game, not by a lot, but I think Tampa is going to upset and beat the Redskins, who are not an overwhelming, kind of overwhelmingly good team anyway. So, yeah, I like the Bucs over the Redskins on Sunday. So your Week 10 picks here: Panthers over Steelers, Rams over Seahawks, Eagles over Cowboys, Colts over Jaguars, Saints over Bengals, and Buccaneers over Redskins. Those are your Week 10 picks for the NFL this week. Again, I know I moved very quickly through that, but we have a lot to do. And again, it's impossible to go over every single thing that's happened in the last 2 weeks and whatnot. So, and we'll do the same thing with college football. I can't go over everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks. And we're going to move on to college football now because we have to move on. We will. We got the first college football playoff rankings, and we got tonight more college football playoff rankings came out. We'll see where we're standing with that in just a moment. But as far as the big headlines over the last couple of weeks, I mean, for us hometown folk around here where I live, Syracuse has been a big story. They made their way up to number 13 in the country and the playoff ranking, which is stunning. It goes to show if they had beaten Clemson, they would have been top 10, which would have been huge for them. But over the last couple of weeks, there has been, I mean, you've had your traditional losses, which you're going to have now because we have big games week after week. Because that's kind of what happens. More big. They try to put a lot of the bigger games late in the season for drama reasons. Some early in the season, some late in the season. Texas has really fallen on tough times these last couple weeks. As has Florida. LSU had the loss to Alabama last week, which was tough. Alabama's looked very, very good. Washington State's been on an upswing over these last couple. As Mississippi State. So those teams have kind of had a good couple weeks. As again, we mentioned Syracuse had a good couple weeks here, being NC State a couple weeks ago as well. UCF has been kind of going about their business. Many people don't buy into them yet. Pittsburgh has kind of done well. Clemson, Notre Dame, Michigan have all hung tough. Michigan had the big win over Penn State. Ohio State's hung tough. West Virginia has been very good. So, that's really been the stories for the last couple of weeks. Now, let's look at Week 11 real quick, and let's see where we're at here as far as what Week 11 has as far as important games. Syracuse will play Louisville on Friday. It's a big game for them because they can't afford to lose. They got Notre Dame next week. If Syracuse beats Louisville like everybody thinks they will, they were 21-point favorites, and then they go into Notre Dame next week and beat Notre Dame. They're going to be in the top 10 in the playoff rankings. They might even be in the top 10 after this week, depending on how things fall. So who knows what beating Notre Dame could do for them. So that's big. That's an important game to watch. They have to beat Louisville and then see what happens next week. Ohio State will play Michigan State. That's a huge game because if Ohio State has any chance of being in the playoffs, they have to win that game. Cannot afford any loss at this point because the committee has clearly not respected them. They have not moved up that much. Mississippi State, Alabama is a big game, huge game for Mississippi State. A big opportunity here to vault themselves probably near the top 10 if they can beat Alabama. I think Alabama would still make the playoffs even with a loss, but that's a 3:30 p.m. Eastern game at Sirius. That's a game worth checking out. Syracuse Louisville, I mentioned on Friday night. Ohio State, Michigan on Saturday at noon on Fox. Let's see, any other big games on Saturday? Auburn, Georgia, 7 o'clock from Eastern on ESPN. That's a big, big game for Georgia to stay in the playoff hunt. They have to win that game. A loss there probably finishes them off. Let's see what else. Oh, and Clemson, Boston College, 8 o'clock from Eastern on ABC. That's a big game for BC and for Clemson because I think a loss eliminates them from playoff contention probably, and a win for Boston College would vault them probably into the top 10 in my mind. That would be a big significant game there for both teams. So those are some of the games this weekend that I would think would be worth watching or keeping an eye on. So, and again, some quick highlights because, again, we can't possibly go after everything else from the last 2 weeks in great detail. It's not enough time. As far as the playoffs rankings go, I'm not going to go over the last 2. I'm just going to give you the more recent ones that came out tonight, only because that makes the most sense. If I go over ones that have already passed, it's kind of pointless. College football playoff rankings as of right now. We'll start with 25 and work our way up. Number 25, Washington. 24, Auburn. 23, Fresno State. Then Iowa State at 22. Iowa at 21. Penn State at 20. Texas at 19. Michigan State at 18. Boston College at 17. Mississippi State at 16. Florida at 15. NC State at 14. Syracuse at 13. UCF at 12. Kentucky at 11. And here's your top 10. Ohio State, number 10. Number 9, West Virginia. Number 8, Washington State. Number 7, LSU. Number 6, Oklahoma. 5, Georgia. 4, Michigan. 3, Notre Dame. Number 2, Clemson. Number 1, Alabama. The only team I think is locked into a spot at this point here on November the 6th is Alabama, even for loss. If Alabama loses 2 losses, I think they could fall out. But as of right now, Alabama, I think even for loss would be a lock in the top 4. Everybody else, I think, is fair game to lose out. And it says a lot about how the committee views LSU, that they lost the way they did and they only dropped to 7. Maybe that's also a lot about how they think about Alabama, but it says a lot because I thought they dropped further. So we'll see. Some games of playoff ranking magnitude this weekend, as I mentioned. We'll see how those games go, and we'll see how it affects things for next week. And things getting interesting here. You're now firmly into November, so these playoff rankings matter. These games matter here as you're down the stretch here in the college football season. So it should be very interesting to see how things develop over this next weekend and next couple weeks, obviously. Again, moving quick because we can't go back over the last 2 weeks. That's one of the reasons taking a hiatus this time of year. So many things going on. It's kind of rough. But we had to. No choice. I was away. Can't go back over 2 weeks worth of stuff. We just try to kind of give an overview and then move on and then focus on what's the here and now, and that's what we're doing. So, yeah. So, we're not going to talk any NBA or NHL or anything. Nothing big. Nothing anybody wants to talk about. So we'll leave any of that stuff for right now. No, not worth anything to talk about right now. We did an NBA preview. So, again, if anybody ever wants to talk hockey or anything related to anything that we don't bring up on the show, you can always submit something. Again, I go by what people ask us to talk about, but sometimes I also look around too and see what's worth talking about, what I think the audience would want us to talk about. So if something's not on the show doesn't mean it can't be on the show. Just keep that in mind. Just suggest it to me and I'll make it. I don't have any problem talking hockey or soccer or anything else. You just gotta let me know that you want that. So. All right, so we done enough football. We did college, we did pro. Let's talk about some other sports here. We'll leave the baseball stuff for the end because that could be quick. I want to do some stuff here with college basketball, which is tipping off tonight. Again, we're not doing the NBA or anything else. So we're going to do college basketball and do some baseball, and that'll be it for tonight. Let's do some college basketball, which tips off tonight with a lot of games, including the Champions Classic. First game of the Champions Classic was earlier tonight. Kansas won that one over number 1 Kansas won that one over number 10 Michigan State, 92-87. Second game right now, 4:51 left in the first. Again, this game on ESPN. 47-31 Duke over Kentucky. Number 4 Duke over Kentucky. So that one not much of a game either. That Kansas game is deceiving. It wasn't really much of a game. It's because they may look better because Kansas just a lot of free throws. And really, I think both teams were overrated. I don't think Kansas is number one. If I'm being honest, I think Duke's number one. I'm not just doing that kind of they're one of my teams. Duke is number one in my mind. I think they have the best players. I would have had Duke at number one, Kentucky at 2, and then I would probably, I'm just talking about the Champions Classic teams. I would probably put Kansas at like 5 and Michigan State at probably like 16. That's the way I would have done it. But other games being played tonight, right now on ESPN2, you got Florida and Florida State. Florida State all over Florida. Number 17, Florida State all over Florida, 66-38 with a little under 8 minutes left in that game. All the other games, nothing of significance, just kind of blowout games and whatnot. So, again, the Champions Classic, always a good time, always a nice way to start the season. We won't do a college basketball preview tonight because, again, we want to wait a couple weeks. I always like, especially with college basketball, I like to wait a couple weeks. See the holiday tournament, see some of the early season big matchups like the ACC Big Ten thing, and then you kind of get a sense of teams in these middle of December and where they're at, and then you can kind of view them. And we've done that with other sports too. We kind of wait a couple weeks, but lately I've been doing more early season stuff for previews. But I'm not gonna do that with college basketball. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. So, but yeah, Champions Classic games. Not much of a game tonight for some of these. Again, Kansas, Michigan State was deceiving, and then Duke, Kentucky is really a blowout. So not much going on for college basketball tip-off, and then, of course, you have the tip-off marathon next week, and all that good stuff. Again, it's early. We'll preview things in a couple weeks. Top 25s, early season rankings, hardly ever matter at this point. It's early. As I said, I already feel like Kansas is overrated, Michigan State's overrated, but the AP, we'll go by the AP. Well, actually, no, I like to go by the coaches poll more than the AP. A lot of people disagree with me on that, but Kansas is ranked number 1 in both. Anyway, Kentucky's ranked number 2 in both. But if we go by the coaches poll, Duke is 3, Gonzaga's 4, Virginia's 5, Tennessee's 6, North Carolina's 7, Villanova's 8, Nevada's 9, Michigan State, Kansas State, Auburn, West Virginia, Syracuse, Florida State, Oregon, Virginia Tech, Michigan, Mississippi State, UCLA, TCU, Purdue, Clemson, Washington, Nebraska. That's your top 25 in the coaches. And the AP, it's Kansas, Kentucky, Gonzaga, Duke, Virginia, Tennessee, Nevada, North Carolina, Villanova, Michigan State, Auburn, Kansas State, West Virginia, Oregon, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Florida State, Mississippi State, Michigan, TCU, UCLA, Clemson, LSU, Purdue, and Washington. So I gave you both rankings. Again, early season stuff doesn't matter. But it is what it is. Again, I'd rank Duke number 1. That's the way I would do it. I think they got the best players, but proving that tonight, but we'll see. But yeah, my early thoughts, like watching the Champions Classic tonight, Duke's really good. I think Kentucky's good, but not great. I think they're good. Good enough to probably make a decent run in the tournament. I think Michigan State and Kansas both overrated. And then we'll see how we do with some of these teams. I watched a little bit of Florida State. I like them a lot. We'll see what they do. I'll give you more of a general overview of some of these teams when we do our college basketball preview in a few weeks. But I just want to touch on, tonight's college basketball tip-off and Champions Class. I can't really say a lot about them because there wasn't a lot to say about them. But I thought I should bring them into the show, and that's what I did. So quickly just reference them and then move on. That's what I'm going to do. So not much to talk about with them, but just had to reference them because they're a big deal tonight. So again, quickly, we move on. Trying to keep things moving here because, it's late. With these 10 o'clock shows, it's late, and I, unless there's a lot to talk about with some of these things, but there isn't, I don't like to belabor the points. Let's talk some baseball, even though it's long past the World Series. We have to wrap up a discussion of that. We have to wrap up our discussion of the MLB season. We got some stuff to talk about, the awards and all that stuff. Let's first talk about the World Series. Don't have a lot to talk about. It was just, look, for one thing, these playoffs were a complete mess for MLB. A complete mess. The early part of the playoffs, they had the great playing games and they had the great wild card games, and then the first round wasn't that good. The second round really wasn't much better, and then the World Series ends up being a dominant run by the Red Sox. And really, that's what this postseason is going to be remembered for, is the Red Sox just being so good. And look, if you want a tutorial on how to validate a season, the Red Sox showed you that. because everybody questioned them all season, including myself. You know, we always question the Red Sox, and they proved themselves. They dominated the Yankees. They dominated the Astros. They dominated the Dodgers. And they won these games on the road. And look, you got to give them props for that, especially since usually these playoff series have turned out to be more home field dominated. They were far and away the best team. And what the Red Sox showed you, okay, because over the years, you've seen teams constantly changing the strategy, right? We've gone from pitching, starting pitching, to bullpens, to, you got sabermetrics in there, to on base percentage. Oh, you can't win by the home run. Oh, well, let's look at this. You can win by the home run. Let's look at what the Red Sox did. If you look at the Red Sox, they are such a traditional baseball team. They have, okay, when you look at traditional baseball teams that used to win consistently, this is what they had. They had an ace pitcher, and then they had a second pitcher in line that was good enough to be a 1A in a way when he's on. Okay, you had your second starter that you could send out there and do things with, and you have a third and a fourth that have reliability and durability, can give you innings, but also can go out there and surprise you and give you a performance that even a number 2 can give you. So you have depth in the starting rotation. You have a reasonable enough bullpen and a closer that, is reliable. And your offense is made up of power, average, and speed. And they have that. Look at all the other teams. It's all about home runs. It's all about on-base percentage. It's all about, we can do a sacrifice fly. That's fine. The Red Sox don't do these things. Yeah, they can sacrifice fly, but they also steal bases. They become the aggressor. They hit with men in scoring position. They hit doubles. They hit singles. They hit triples. They'll hit home runs too. But they just try to make contact. They just try to hit. It's not about going up there and just trying to knock the ball out of the ballpark and launch angles. It's just about just go out there and being a good hitter. About going out there and being a good pitcher. That's what the Red Sox are. The Red Sox are and that's what as a baseball fan, that's what I want to see. Just try to put together the best team possible. Because that's what's going to win you games. That's what's going to win you championships. That's what's going to do it. And let's think about even the Astros last year. The Astros didn't have a good bullpen. They're using starting pitchers to close games. They weren't always hitting home runs. They had an ace starting pitcher. They had an equally good second pitcher. I mean, that's what I'm saying. For all this talk about home runs and saber, it's about being the best team, putting together the best team, the best roster. Throw out the numbers. I mean, you need the numbers, but throw out all this run prevention and all this other garbage. And try to field the best team possible, best players you can get for each position, and have some depth to your starting rotation, put together the best bullpen you can, and go for it. And that's what the Red Sox did. That's what the Red Sox did, and that's why they won. That's what the Astros did last year, and that's why they won. The Red Sox had a dominant performance this entire season, right through the postseason. It was a full circle, wire to wire, dominant performance by the Boston Red Sox, and you got to give kudos to them. It was a great performance. And the Dodgers, I thought Dave Roberts got outmatched. First of all, Alex Cora put on a clinic in these playoffs as far as managing goes. Every move he made worked. He went with sabermetrics at times. He met with gut at times, and that's what Alex Cora did in this postseason. Is what I want to see every manager in baseball do. I'm not a guy that doesn't see the importance of sabermetrics, but sometimes you have to go with what feels right, and he did that. And when he did that, he excelled. Alex Cora put on a show in this postseason, and all these other managers, from Aaron Boone to God, I can't even think of AJ Hinch to Dave Roberts, they got so far outclassed by Alex Cora, they should be ashamed of themselves. Because it's not like Alex Cora was doing anything other than just going with what felt right and going with what he had in front of him too. It was a mixture of that, and he did great. And the team performed. And again, a manager's always going to look better when his team performs. But still, he put them in a position to perform, and he did a great job. So the Red Sox, you're champions. It was great performance by them. I thought the Dodgers, hey, what it was? The Red Sox were just too good. They had there was a couple of good World Series games there, long games there that did okay. But other than that, these playoffs were terrible. I'm sorry. They just were. There wasn't a whole lot of drama. You had a couple of good games in the World Series. That was it. I mean, the early games, the playing games, the wild card games were good, and a couple of World Series games were good. But that was other than that, that was it. Very bad postseason for MLB, I think, and it's a shame because it was a good season. Just sometimes it happens. What can you do? Can't help it. Develops the way it develops. Now you move on. It was a great season. Postseason left a lot to be desired. Had some moments, and to congratulate the Red Sox and going wire to wire and dominating. The best team won. Best record, best team won. And now as the season is over, you start looking at awards and what's going to be happening. Some teams have already started signing players. The Yankees have made some waves. Signed Brett Gardner and CC Sabathia to new one-year deals. Kind of shocking. I thought they'd wait a little bit on that, but I guess they really want to keep their leadership around. So those parts of the equation are done for them. And you've seen some other teams make some strides or try to make some strides. It got out that Bryce Harper rejected a deal by the Nationals before the season ended. So we'll see what that means for him. Pardon me. There's been a lot of talk about, free agency. The GM meetings are this week. Maybe Bryce Harper move to first base and go to the Yankees. We'll see if that's a thing. A lot of other talk about things as well. There's been some manager hire. I mean, there's been some waves. I don't want to go over all of it, but there's been some big waves already. We're getting some of these award finalists, and nothing earth-shattering until today. Everything's been about according to plan until today, when the finalists for the AL MVP came out, and Mookie Betts was one of them. No surprise there. And then you had let's see. I'm trying to see the finalists here. Okay, here we go. Mookie Betts, Jose Ramirez, Mike Trout were your finalists. Okay, first of all, Mookie Betts is a given, and Mookie Betts is going to win the award. I think everybody knows that. Jose Ramirez, I don't really have too much of a problem with, but I probably want to put him up there over JD Martinez. Mike Trout usually isn't every year, but again, I want to put him up there over JD Martinez. JD Martinez, and I know that, look, maybe this is a case of them splitting the boat, Mookie and JD. They both should have been up there in the top three. They both should have. The fact that he wasn't is an embarrassment. I'm sorry. The guy had an unbelievable year. 43 home runs, 130 RBIs, batted .330. How in the world is he not a finalist? How is he not one? I just don't understand it. That's a joke. I'm sorry, it's a joke. It should have been Betts, Martinez, and then either Trout or Ramirez in that order. That's how it should have been. And I understand they both played for the same team, but they both were equally as important. They both put up the numbers. It's a shame. It's a shame that he's not that he doesn't get that he didn't get any more recognition than he should have gotten. He got a hell of a lot more. I know it doesn't matter because he wasn't going to win it, but and it's like, oh, nobody's going to care who finished in second or third. It's what it is. It shows you that it's so numbers driven. Well, not numbers driven, but metrics driven. Because if you just look at the numbers that I always think matter, which is your batting average, your home runs, and your RBIs, and your runs scored, and when you look at that, JD Martinez should be up there. But then you look at stuff like WAR and all this other garbage, which to me doesn't make a bit of difference. They wouldn't put him up there. Again, think about where the Red Sox would have been without JD Martinez. Would bats have been as good without JD Martinez? We saw the Red Sox without JD Martinez last year. They couldn't score. They were bounced from the first round of the playoffs. So we know what the Red Sox are like without JD Martinez. He had that kind of impact. I'm not saying you should have won, but at least recognize him. At least show the world that you recognize his importance and his value and his talent. The fact that you couldn't even put him in the top 3 shows you don't recognize any of that because all you're too busy with is reading the numbers. These stupid, and not even the right numbers, the numbers that are just there to make you seem like you're smarter than you actually are when it comes to baseball. Just completely asinine that he's not top 3. Again, I know Mookie Betts is going to win the damn thing, so it shouldn't matter, but it does. It's about the principle of it. It does matter. But Mookie Betts will win it, obviously. And I just couldn't believe that he wasn't in the top 3. As far as other finalists, the American League Cy Young has come down to Kluber, Snell, and Verlander. I would think it's going to be Blake Snell, but who knows? American League Rookie of the Year is Andujar, Ohtani, and Torres. Ohtani's going to probably win. I don't think he should win. I think Andujar should win, but Ohtani's probably going to win. Manager of the Year is between Kevin Cash, Alex Cora, and Bob Melvin. I think it should go to Kevin Cash. You know, Alex Cora managed a hell of a postseason. Kevin Cash did a hell of a job at Tampa Bay. The rotation was in shambles. He did the whole opener thing. Tampa Bay was expected to kind of like cave in this year, and it didn't. They stayed in it right to the end almost, so I would give it to Kevin Cash. If I were choosing it. Your NL side of things, MVP Award finalists are Nolan Arenado, Javier Baez, and Christian Yelich. I think Yelich is going to win it, but we'll see. That's who I would pick too, to be honest. NL Cy Young, Jacob deGrom, Aaron Nola, Max Scherzer. deGrom's going to win it, I think. I think deGrom's going to win it because everybody else kind of fell off at the end. And NL Rookie of the Year, Ronald Acuna Jr., Walker Buehler, and Juan Soto. I think Acuna will win it, but Soto has a good chance too. And your NL Manager of the Year, Bud Black, Craig Counsell, or Brian Snitker. Honestly, it could be any one of those guys. I'd probably say it's going to be either Counsell or Snitker, but we'll see. I'd probably go more towards Brian Snitker, but we'll see. So actually, we are right with the MLB Awards. So yeah. Wow, I did not expect to fly through things that quick and only do it in under an hour, but we did it. We did it. So hey, why not, right? Why drag things out if we don't have to? So we got through everything. We did. I know I rushed through everything. I apologize, but you know what? It's hard to recap things that have gone. Look, the MLB stuff was done 2 weeks ago. You know, it's hard to go through NFL and college football games in the last 2 weeks. It's kind of done and over with, you know. So you just try to overview and just move on. That's what we try to do. So, next week we'll be back to normal, talking about things that just happened, and it makes it a lot easier. So I know it wasn't the best, but we did what we had to do tonight to kind of get back in the swing of things and get back on track. So before I get to announcements about the show and what's going to be going down and everything, let me kind of wind down the show, and then we'll go from there. So again, we went quickly. We got in all in an hour. I'll take it, especially for a first show back. And given that it's late, I don't like to go too late with these shows. So, all right. So, with that being said, that is it for tonight. As always, the show might be over. Does not mean you have to stop interacting, contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. And if your questions about the show, scheduling the show, topic ideas, or breaking news items for sports, entertainment, or wrestling you want us to cover. Reactions, comments, opinions, things we talked about on the show, things we said, anything you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet about our show. And again, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page so you can interact with us and all that good stuff. Again, follow us on social media so you can get the latest information about our show, especially when it comes to scheduling. Any last-minute postponements or delays, we post on our social media pages because, again, we usually let you know if we know something in advance, but sometimes things pop up quickly. The only way they let you know when things pop up quickly is through social media. So make sure you follow us on Twitter and Facebook to get all the latest information about the show, scheduling, and of course we also post random things on our social media as well. So to have access to all that and more, make sure that you follow us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 and like our fan page, or on Twitter at itspotlight411, and make sure you use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show or anything you tweet to us. Make sure you do that so you can have access to all that and more. 2 ways to give up the show and look back at classic episodes. You can either stream us anytime here on YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. You'll be taken to our show page here where you'll find every episode ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. Google Plus no longer really a thing, but everything's saved and on YouTube. So everything that we've done on YouTube in the last 2 years is 2 years? 2 or 3 years, something like 3 years. Everything is saved on here, so every episode ever produced for YouTube and Google Plus is available to you to stream anytime you want. Just search In the Spotlight 411 on YouTube, and you'll have access to those episodes. If streaming is not your thing, we prefer to listen to us rather than see us on screen rather than listen to us on the go. You're interested in older episodes of the show. If any of that applies, you check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search In the Spotlight 411. When you do, be taking our show pages on both those sites. You'll find every episode we ever produced in nearly 8 years. Actually, it's not nearly 8 years. In the 8 years we've been doing this show, every episode we've ever done is on there. Every episode from our original Blog Talk Radio run from October 2010 and January 2011. Every episode from our Talk Shoe run from January 2011, all the way up to mid-October 2015. All of our Google Plus YouTube episodes mid-October 2015, all the way up to tonight's current episode. All those episodes transfer into audio format for your convenience. Every episode we've ever done transfer into audio format for your convenience. So, whether you're a long-time fan, want to check out an episode again from a long time ago, or a new fan, want to check out an episode like that from a few years back, or even older, beyond than that for the first time, or you want to keep up a current episode, miss the pirate episode, want to check out an episode again, miss the latest episode. If any of that applies to you, you can check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search In the Spotlight 411. Again, all episodes in order from the most recent, that being tonight's, to the oldest. Again, all episodes listed in order from the most recent, that being tonight's, all the way to the oldest, way back in October 2010. This episode available for you anytime on here on Podbean and iTunes. So Google Plus YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, and Google Plus YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways to give it the show and look back at classic episodes. To search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, to search for In the Spotlight 411 on those sites. Not bad for being a little rusty. I only stumbled over myself a couple of times. I rushed, got everything in. Again, kind of like a transitional show tonight. We'll be back on track next week, and we'll be talking about things that are recent, and we won't feel need to kind of summarize and kind of just move on and that kind of thing. So I think it'll be make for better times coming up here once we kind of get over everything that we missed in the last couple of weeks. So, but thank you for bearing with me on that, because I know that these kind of shows after a hiatus are tough because you really just are recapping, kind of just trying to move things along and kind of get back on track. They're always tough. Do the best you can, though. That's all you can do. I want to shout out to my co-host, Mike, who is not here tonight. I'm expecting him. I think he'll be back on the show by the end of the year. We'll see. We're going to sit down and talk. I do think he'll be back. I said that before the break. We've been talking. His job situation is going to be changing, hopefully. So once that happens, he'll be back, and things should get back. Things will be back to some level of normalcy here. So, but shout out to him. He's been very helpful to me in these last couple weeks while I've been gone. So, thank you to him and his family for helping us out. And shout out to him. Hope everything's going well for him. And of course, I want to thank myself for another great show. Pat myself back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching, listening to this later in archive, thank you to you as well. Nice real first show back, kind of like a get your feet wet kind of show, kind of get back in the swing of things, transition things. And again, we'll be back on track in the coming days here now that we're kind of back into the routine of things. So, all right. So I mentioned announcements in regards to the show. Well, here's the thing, folks. We have made a decision. You all know that the plan was to start the new format for the show after we got back from the hiatus. But we will not be doing that. I said we postponed it indefinitely before the hiatus. I said that we had postponed it indefinitely. Well, the plan right now is that we're not looking at starting up a new format till after the holidays. It really what it comes down to is this. I don't want to start this thing until I have my co-host Mike back, which is looking like it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when and not if. You got the holidays. Thanksgiving is in it's almost in 2 weeks now. And then after that, you got a month and it's Christmas and New Year's. You can't really start anything fresh and new during that time. Okay. So it's best to wait till January. And really in the past, whenever we've done anything new and different, we've always either done it in September, October, or January. So we might as well just wait till January because the holidays are fast approaching. So right now, folks, for those that wanted the definitive time for when we're going to start the new format and everything new that we've talked about as to what's coming to the show, we are going to start it in January. I will give you a firm date probably by the end of this month. I don't want to go on record and give you a firm date and then we can't do it. I'm going to wait until I know for sure that that's the date, and then we'll start building up. And this gives us time to build things up, build up some hype, because that's really what I wanted to do, and I haven't been able to do is build up some hype because there's so much uncertainty. We couldn't really go, oh, here's a countdown to the new stuff. We can do that now. We have some time to do that now, and that's what we're going to do. So the new stuff, new format for the show will start in January for those that are wondering. So that's the big announcement in regards to that. I wanted to give you all a general sense of when the new stuff was coming, and it's coming in January. So mark that down and look forward to that. Another thing, too, is one of the things we're going to try to do before we start the new format for the show is the next edition of the In the Spotlight Film Awards. I'd like to do that and get that in before we start the new format for the show. Only because I think it'd be hard to kind of do the awards right out of the gate with the new format for the show. So more information will be coming in the next couple of weeks. We're probably going to be starting the process a little sooner. We can't start it too soon because I want to be able to count the movies that are being released in November, December for this year's awards. So I got to kind of toe a line here, but we'll give you more information in the next couple of weeks as to how it's all going to work. But I think you're gonna see an early film awards this time around. So be prepared for that. All right, so those are two major announcements. Other than that, I have nothing further other than usual. This Thursday, what's coming up this Thursday? What's coming up? Well, we got a entertainment and restaurant show for you, TV highlights from the last couple of weeks and for this week. Look back at last couple of weeks of box office numbers. We'll do some wrestling, Raw, SmackDown, Crown Jewel, Evolution, all that we'll be talking about on Thursday. We got a lot to do on Thursday as well. Next week, we'll have two shows, Tuesday and Thursday next week, normal times. All these shows coming up are 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. The week after that, we'll only be doing one show as of right now. That show will be on Tuesday of that week, as is always the case for Thanksgiving week. We'll only do one show on Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and the rest of the week will be off. And then after that, we'll be back on track for two shows straight through to Christmas. So that'll be the schedule going forward from that point. All right, so that's all the business we have to take care of. So we got through everything very quick, efficient, good, tight, kind of way to go about things tonight to kind of get things back on track here. So I want to thank you all for your patience, understanding. As I've been gone for the last 2 weeks, we are back and building towards our new era of shows. So hope, again, you had a great 2 weeks and a great Halloween, and hope, again, you went out and did your civic duty and voted. Hope you had a great election day. I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great Wednesday, and a great Thursday. We'll see you back here for our next show this coming Thursday night at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. That is when our next show will air. Until then, I hope you all have a great night. We'll talk to you on Thursday. Good night, everybody.